Hello, it's Talking Reds. Good morning, happy Wednesday, happy last week of the season. It is John Gibbons here. I'm joined by Rob Gutmann. I went with Gutmann there. Rib Gutmann and just Sexton. Just Sexton.
Someone made my name easier to say that.
I struggle with yours. I always had to be careful. You know, when I was doing my very serious openings on Moments in Time, I was had to go Josh Sexton. It's the blended.
It's the sex, isn't it?
Yeah.
Every time.
Tons of it.
Just gets me going. Just gets me going. And you know what else gets me going? A brilliant VPN service. And we are brought to you together with NordVPN. They're a partner with us for Talking Reds for the rest of the season, and we appreciate it. More from that in the middle. But it is the last week of Jürgen Klopp. We've put out our Jürgen Klopp interview this morning. It was very kind of him to speak to us last Friday. We were meant to do something last summer, and he didn't really sort of want to do anything. He was very focused on obviously getting it right after the tough season. So he was like, I'll speak to you at the end of the year. And then when he announced he was leaving, we were like, well, that's not going to happen. But he was as good of his word. He did sit down with us last Friday. He did about 48 minutes, I think it is, in the end. Clock's out there, hasn't it? And it's available for free on YouTube. We wanted to put it out for free because I feel like sometimes with Jürgen, he feels like he's speaking to the fans sort of through us, really. So he's like, he wants to talk directly to the fans. That's obviously difficult because there's a lot of us. So he's like, well, if I speak to the Anfield Wrap, then I'm sort of doing it. So it felt right to put it out for free. If you prefer podcasts, you're a dog walker, that sort of thing, it's available on audio as well for free. But yeah, just a really nice experience. I do enjoy it, and loads of nice feedback already from it, Josh, which is good. People just like him, don't they? And people are going to be sorry to see him go on Sunday.
Yeah, it felt like the sort of, I don't know, almost staring into the abyss yesterday. Like when you see the pictures and videos coming out on social media of him being stood at like an empty Anfield, and then like, you know, Tor putting that out as well. Like I think once the game on Monday had finished, and seeing like him saying goodbye to the away end and stuff like that was when it truly hit home for me. Like Ash actually asked in the office the other week, like, do we think we'll get emotional on the final day? And almost in advance of it, I was like, I can't really put myself in that space yet, but I'm not sort of sure I will, like, because I feel like I've already done the emotional bit, and then I was like an absolute baby watching him say goodbye to the away end on Monday. So it does feel like this week's like a slow progression into what's going to be like one of the most emotional football matches of your life on Sunday. And you know, in that sense, I know we're probably going to come on to talk about it, but like it does hold some importance in that sense for me, because like I think it's important that we sort of, you know, go out of this Jürgen Klopp era on a massive high, on a massive, you know, positively emotional day at Anfield as well as a really sad day. So yeah, it's nice sort of seeing everybody being, you know, nice about Tor for one, but then, you know, nice about Jürgen Klopp as well, because he absolutely deserves that, and you know, a million times more, doesn't he?
The best way to go out is a win, Rob. You know, and I know you're still fuming over the Stoke results in Steven Gerrard's last game and sort of how they played then. To be honest, I'm still a bit fuming that Norwich beat us for the last day of the Cup. That sums up the Souness era for me, that they couldn't even fucking do that right. I hope these players, you know, do the business on Sunday, because the best way to go out for Jürgen Klopp will be a win, and the most fitting way, because he's won a lot of football games.
There's something about our last day. I remember in the Souness era, we'd had a dog of a season, but we won 6-2. Barnsley scored 2. You know, he come back from his injury, and I left thinking, we've had a terrible season, but I feel totally optimistic now about the new season. So it is important, and I'm not ready to be emotional on the line. I'm not easily made to be emotional toward her. Don't like New Year's Eve, for example. It's terrible. No one's going to make me have fun. So I think I'll have to have a quiet moment on my own. It'll hit me sometime later in the summer. I think I'm in this long declining denial over Jürgen for now. My lads who I'll go to the match with will make me actually stay behind to have to clap him off the pitch, but it'll be the least possible, because I can't really quite deal with it, because he's become so ingrained in our football consciousness, our football supporting lives. You know, he's more than any manager, I think, since Dalglish, really, and that's going back. He is Liverpool Football Club for me, and I can't quite detach the two, and I'm not able to process that yet. So it's mainly, I want Liverpool to win a football match, because that is always real to me.
Yeah, and it'd be a perfect way to go out, because he has given us so many wins, he's given us so many great afternoons, especially at Anfield. And you know, listen, you think about yourself in these situations and what he's meant to you, but I sort of look around and look at other people, and you know, I was thinking this morning about you and your / mates coming in, because as adults going the game together, like Jürgen sort of, I guess, all you've known really, and you've turned from boyish teenager.
Boyish charm.
Well, you kept that. But you've gone from the lad who goes with his dad to the lad who goes with his mates on the Jaeger, and you and your mates who I do love, have sort of had all these sort of times together, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the Glenbook around you, with the crisp buffet on Sunday, and because like it is stuff like Sunday is to be enjoyed with your mates, whether that's at the ground or whether it's in the supporters clubs where you watch it, the pub where you always go, and thinking about the times where you've had together under Jürgen.
Yeah, and like you say, it's where we've sort of, Jürgen Klopp is forever going to be the manager where we established our, match going routines. I'm dead lucky that we're all sort of sat together on Sunday as well. That's going to be like a, really sort of special moment for me, because as you say, like I used to go with my brother, and we'd literally be driving in from Cheshire and driving out. There was no like real routine to that. It was, you got a ticket for the match, and it was usually pretty last minute, because it would just be a spare off somebody. And as I say, drive straight in and out. And now like we, a couple of us are living around town, get to go to the game together and stuff, and that's the stuff that you'll talk to your kids and grandkids about, is how you saw the glory days of Liverpool Football Club. And it's the stuff that's been passed down from my dad and my grandparents and stuff of watching Bill Shankly's and Bob Paisley's and Kenny Dalglish's, as Rob said, and like I've got to live through those times now. And I remember when Klopp first announced he was leaving, my mum messaged me sort of being like, how are you feeling? How are you processing it all? And I was like, I think I'm processing it well, but I also feel a bit like it will never be as good as this. And she was like, oh, so it sounds like you're dealing with it all right. and I've sort of got over that, because there is this thing, and obviously Jürgen sort of said it himself, like all he really sees himself as doing in his job, and I think he always understates himself a little bit, but he's reminded us of the power of belief, effectively. Like he's reminded us of who we've always been at Liverpool Football Club, and that's why I think like we will go again at some point in the future. But I'm not going to be between the ages of 20 and 28 in the future. Like I'm going to be much older and probably a bit more cynical, and maybe the crisp buffet will get the knock at some point. I really hope not, but like it's dead sort of nice, and I'm sure will be very emotional for me and the lads on Sunday, sort of doing those routines under Jürgen Klopp one more time.
Tell me about the crisps again.
We do. So we go to the corner shop just across the road from the Glenbook. So
Right.
we'll all go into the Glenbook, get our pints and stuff, go and set up in what we're calling the all-weather now, because it used to just be the beer alley rather than a beer garden, but they put a little like perspex roof over it now, which makes it like a greenhouse, so it's nice all year round, and we'll just set up a load of crisps on the side, and that's part of
buy your own crisps.
buy our own crisps, take them in, and then there's a big spread of them on the side. There's been a few people who got involved. John's got involved. We're thinking about making it into a festival at some point. We're just sort of working on the logistics of that, really.
I think if Jürgen could take anything with him from Merseyside,
exactly,
would,
yeah.
His time.
I wasn't there on Friday at Kirby, but that's what I said to him. I said, listen, Jürgen, you don't know what you've established here in terms of life affirming events.
Crisp culture.
Where does he fit in the pantheon of greats, Rob? Or indeed does that matter? The reason I ask is I did 5 Live last night, and someone do great. I was on with Dion Dublin, who told me he was married to a Scouser, which I didn't realise.
Really?
Yeah, he's married to.
Lives on the Wirral, I'm pretty sure.
To a Liverpool girl. He was brilliant. I was on with Andy Reid, who I've never done anything with. He was so knowledgeable about football and so intelligent. So I didn't know too much about him at all. But then they were asking me. So the presenter was on, but then they were sort of chipping and asking me questions, and they were like, "Where does he fit in with, the greats, Shankly, Paisley, Dalglish?" And I'm like, well, it's almost kind of like so hard to compare him with them, because Shankly's obviously, the man responsible for modern Liverpool, if you like. Comparing him to Paisley seems trite when Paisley won as much as sort of what he did, and Kenny's the king, and Kenny's about so much more. So is he up there with them? Is he just below them? Is it unfair to even sort of compare him, or does it sort of eventually not really? Do we have to have a league table for everything? Can't we just say he's another one of our great managers who've made us what we are?
I mean, the parallel is the league table. We're always debating about best ever player, and I think that's a bit spurious. I think the pantheon is the right word. That, when you talk about the best ever player, okay, for me, I grew up with Kenny Dalglish, but I also seen Steven Gerrard and I've seen Pete Luis Suarez, and I don't want to pick between them. And I've now seen Pete Mo Salah. I don't want to pick between them, but it's clearly an elite in our history. John Barnes, I could throw it. It's probably the other name I've missed out there. So I could go. They were something different from all the others. Even different from the Ian Rushes and the Peter Beardsleys and many other great players we've had. They're a level, just that level above where they're on their own. And I think, and with the managers, we've this debate, Kenny versus Shankly. Does somebody want to have that debate? I think it's spurious. They were both the heart beating soul of the club when they were there. Paisley was much more understated, but he won all the cups, you know, and he'd been there behind the scenes with Bill. Paisley's unimpeachable, and those three are. For me, I mean, others may disagree of my generation, and I think our generation are that little bit more qualified because we lived through them, but I didn't live through Shankly. It's questionable that Klopp's up there with them. I think, yes, we'd have liked, if he'd had at least 2 more leagues, which his efforts and his team's efforts deserved, we wouldn't even be having the conversation. But he won the European Cup, he won the league. In as far as I can say, it's the greatest league-winning team of all time because he gets to the title with the greatest points total everyone's ever secured the title on. Club World Cup, we're in 3 Champions League finals, those multi-90-point finishes. It's there, but for the grace of God that he's not somewhere, that he's eclipsed Kenny's and even Bill Shankly's at trophy halls. But the wider context is Kenny and Paisley took from positions of strength, relative strength. Klopp took from position of weakness. He's rebuilt Liverpool as a world power to some degree. So to answer your question quickly, absolutely 100% he's in that pantheon of there is now a top 4.
And I think that extends to off the pitch as well. Like there's a cult of personality thing. Like I think it's important that you mentioned that, you know, that Bob Paisley was a sort of understated character. Of course, Rafa was, you know, a great football manager, but famously, you know, a cold tactician really, and not the sort of, I think Rafa's almost become more warm for Liverpool fans in the sort of aftermath of his tenure at Liverpool, hasn't he? Whereas, you know, Jürgen Klopp, you think of all the Shanklyisms that we've adopted down the years, and of course some of the ones that are just, you know, flat out made up as well. I'm really excited to see what quotes they make up about Jürgen Klopp, because he's basically said all of the best things that we can it's all on record.
Just throw everything into an AI.
Like I just want to see where are the drinks on loads of murals across the city at some point in the future. But for me it does extend to off the pitch. Like I think to, you know, events like Eurovision and stuff, and people might think this is, you know, almost a bit, I don't think churlish is the word, but the reason that Liverpool can throw parties as big as that now is because Liverpool threw parades under Jürgen Klopp, and we saw a city sort of, you know, come back to life because of a football manager and a football team, and I know our blue brethren won't sort of like the sound of that, but, you know, I genuinely believe that, because I moved to the city in 2016 and saw that, you know, the way it was at the time and how much it's transformed to now. And really it is night and day. And the thing I always go back to, like one of my funnest facts about Jürgen Klopp, is that there's 2 people from foreign lands that have got keys to the city, and, you know, one of them's Nelson Mandela and one of them's Jürgen Klopp. So that's that, you know, says it all for me.
I think in our culture, because we had that massive gap from the end of the Dalglish era, and what we forget is that the Shankly, Paisley, Dalglish thing is virtually continuous. It's all but seamless, with some blips. But in the widest picture, it's a continuous run of success. We're never more than a couple of years away from a significant trophy, really. Yeah. Maybe it's 4 years under Shankly or something. The fact that we went 30 years without the league means we became like an ancient religion waiting for a messiah, and ancient religions waiting for messiahs never get them. Sorry guys, it's fantasy. It happened to us in real life. Our messiah came and he delivered. You know, we've written songs about this where there's a fan base. Jürgen said to me, etc., etc. But he was our messiah, and he brought it all back. I am not that old, but I'm old enough to think I might never see us win the league or European Cup again in my lifetime. It's possible. It's 30 fucking years is a long time. Yeah. You know, I'm ambitious about what age I live to, but that flew by.
You weren't guaranteed 30 more.
No. So, you know what? Yeah, he made us believe, didn't he?
Any interesting comments coming through? Maybe sort of, you know, people who let us know if you've watched the interview or you've listened to the interview. Do let us know what you think. We would love some sort of feedback / adulation, sort of based on that, more than that, if I'm honest. But listen, if you've got notes, then feel free to share, and I'll forward them on to Neil. Or just generally your memories of Jürgen Klopp that you want to sort of share on there, or also your plans for Sunday, sort of what you do. So if you go in the game, you know, what's your plan, or if you go into the pub watching it with friends, the people people you've shared these journeys with. We'd sort of love to hear that too. But anything jumping out at the moment for you, Josh?
A lot of love for the interview. So Greg Hughes has been on. He says, rewatching the Jürgen interview, absolutely boss. You're good at this, which is nice. Cheers, Greg. There is another one which said, love the interview this morning, lads. Unfortunately, it's made it finally hit home that it's real. Gutted. That's from the Grim Sleeper, which is a great name. Yeah, there's a lot of that. Like Liam Fairclough says, I think it's finally sank in after watching the interview, fellas. Cheers for that. So yeah, a lot of love, and a lot of it's sinking in for people. And like I always think back to that, a quote that you said on a show, Rob, at the time when Jürgen was being appointed, that basically if this fella can't get it right, then honestly who can? And like to think back from that point where we were just in that sort of hopeless and I guess like doubtful place to where we are now. I think it's why it's hitting home so much that we've gone from that to where we are now. And listen, like, you know, the new manager will come in, and naturally there'll be sort of, you know, uncertainty and probably a bit of doubt in some people's minds about the new fella coming in. But you know, the thing I keep going back to is that quote from Jürgen Klopp is amazing. I think it is the one he says at the end of the interview as well, isn't it? Is that, you know, you can take on the world basically if you continue to believe. So I think we should all sort of, you know, be sad that this era is over, but you know, fully believe that there's eras to come in the future and potentially even the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. It is on to the next man. We think it is Arnie Slot, but there's lots for him to work with, lots of fantastic players here, and I think Jürgen said he wants to leave the club in a much better place when he walked out, and maybe I've made that quote up. Maybe
started already.
Yeah, it started already. I'm going to get Josh.
You would have done.
I'm going to get Rob's Messiah stuff on a billboard. That was fucking brilliant. Was it? Not the bit about not getting one. The bit about him being the Messiah. But yeah, are we going to win Sunday? Go on a high. Anything mad you do with the team?
I'd pick Darwin because I think we have to invest in Darwin as our future, really.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we've done gutter shows on this one about who Liverpool might buy if we lost forwards. I don't think we want to be losing forwards, so I'd quite like our main three of Diaz, Darwin and Salah to start. Beyond that, I just want Liverpool to win, and it'd be nice to win quite nicely too.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about the football last night, a little bit about the title race in a couple of minutes. Josh will get a few more of your comments up as well. We'll come back straight from there. But first of all, just want to say, as I said at the top, a big thank you to NordVPN for partnering with us for the rest of the season on Talking Reds. It is a fantastic service that I use, and you use as well. Rob, apparently I talked you into it.
Yeah, I bought it recently. Because I watched the show, you were saying it was good, I took your word for it, and you know what, it is good. So well done, guys.
There we are. You too can be just like Rob Gutmann. Imagine that is the dream for all of us. You two can be good. It's good at life as Rob Gutmann. It is nordvpn.com/TAW. nordvpn.com/TAW. Loads of benefits to a VPN service, and Nord is one of the quickest ones out there. There is the extra security, there is the extra peace of mind, especially when logging in on public Wi-Fi's and abroad and things like that. But the main reason I enjoy it, and I've got a sneaking suspicion, Rob as well, is the ability to change your virtual location and enjoy TV, streaming, films, whatever it is, live sports that are happening on TV in other countries that aren't where you are. So it's easy to do, and they're that confident that you will enjoy the service, that there is a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you download it and it's not for you, you get your money back within 30 days. That's how confident that they are. You will enjoy it. So nordvpn.com/TAW. Is there anything particular you've dived into so far, or have you just been having a scoot around, a little bit of a look?
Not a lot of football, especially when I've been out of the country. But I think I'm on day 32, and I got over that 30-day hump, and I was never any doubt, so I was going to stick with them.
Well, didn't even think about it.
I'm unsubscribed my other VPN users.
There I was.
Naming no names.
Slow as fuck. There we are. Okay, anything else jump up in the comments, Josh, before we sort of move on and talk a little bit about last night?
Just people always watching us from cool places, to be honest. So Court Green's been on and says, good morning from Merida, Venezuela, Rojo, Rojito, which is just like absolutely unbelievable, the gaffs that some people watch us from. And just to say as well, by the way, because there's a lot of people who are coming into the city for the game this weekend, some people who are lucky enough to get tickets to what's going to be an amazing occasion. We've actually got a billboard celebrating Jürgen on the Albert Dock there, and so we want you to get your pictures in front of it. You want to get pictures in front of it, tag the Anfield Wrap, and if you do, the best picture we're going to choose can win a 3-litre glass Erdinger glass signed by Jürgen Klopp. So that's something to look forward to. Get down there, tag the Anfield Wrap, tag at the Albert Dock as well, and you can win a 3 litre signed Jürgen Klopp Erdinger glass.
3 litres?
3 litres,
Is it?
It's a lot of beer, that, isn't it?
Does it look like the UEFA Cup or something? What's it like?
That's Josh's standard order. Have you not been with him in the Red Lion?
How much beer do you want? Yes.
Get that 3 litre glass. Josh is fuming, he can't win, but you can. Well done for remembering that as well. I completely forgotten. Sorry, Craig. You put your best man on it, him. So go down, take a picture at the Albert Dock, tag the Anfield Wrap. Basically, just do what Josh has asked you to do. I don't know why I'm repeating it worse. If you're not sure if the instructions were clear, rewind slightly, or message Craig or Josh on Twitter. Not me. I'm useless. So sell no VPNs though. Up the heads. Right, last night was interesting.
Yeah,
we're in a little WhatsApp group together. People from the Anfield Wrap talking about the footy. We had a little conversation about the game last night. It went in Man City's favour. It was fairly hard fought. I think it is fair to say.
Yeah.
Spurs had good chances at 0-0. I felt like the game was very much in the balance when City went 1-0. I think you could have made an argument it could have gone either way. And then also there's obviously the huge chance for Son at 1-0. I don't think Arsenal fans can fault the Spurs players too much in terms of everything that they put in. I mean, they leathered the goalie for the starters. It was certainly committed, but it was interesting in the ground, and it was interesting hearing the manager's sort of comments after. And I can go sort of both ways on it, really. I sort of understand. We've all been there where the last thing you want is your big rivals winning anything. This game, has been notable, on the horizon for that for a while. But at the same time, I do feel a little bit for the manager as well, because he's trying to build a winning mentality. He wants to sort of win, and I think he was a bit taken aback by sort of everything that went on around him.
Managers, players aren't supporters. The supporters have lived their whole lives with, as of all supporters, with having mortal enemies, and you define yourselves by them. When I was young, every time I was inside Anfield, the half-time scores would be, the cop would either cheer or boo, depending on what the Everton score was. And relative to our results. We're as petty about Everton as they are about us. We like to pretend we think we're above it. We're not. If it was Everton going for the title, we'd have been just as invested. We'd have been all around each other's sitting rooms in pubs looking for their demise. You and I were talking on that group about when Blackburn came to Anfield to try and deny a Man U winning the title and to win the title themselves, with Kenny Dalglish as their manager in 1994, was it? Something like 4 or 5?
Yeah, feels right, yeah.
And Alan Shearer put Blackburn in front that day. Me and a lot of Liverpool fans got out of their seats and celebrated that goal. But then I celebrated subsequent Liverpool goals. It's a strange experience. It's kind of a lovely day. It's kind of no lose. I suspect the Spurs fans came out of that game thinking, thank God Arsenal probably aren't going to win the league. Thank God for that fact. But also, we played quite well. We actually gave a good account of ourselves against the team that are likely now to win that league. From the manager's point of view, I think several things you can say. One, you're right. He wants to develop a winning mentality. He wants his team to go upwards and onwards and to be above the vagaries of supporter petty rivalries. And that does make sense. But also, I think he's a man in a bit of a hole, which he wouldn't admit. I think he's had a good start to his tenure as Tottenham manager as an unknown in this league, but it's tailed off quite a lot. From being in pole position to get Champions League, they're now very unlikely to get it, or pretty unlikely to get it. But to sign off with a win over City, or even a creditable draw over City, and then maybe follow that up with beating Sheffield on the last day, he'd have been able to say, you know what, we had some ups and downs, but we finished the season quite nicely. We're a decent side, I made progress, we're building something here. Whereas to tail off with another defeat, and they've had a lot of defeats in the last couple of months, doesn't feel so good for him. And he's not consoled by a decades or 100-year-old rivalry, whatever it is, that's in the supporters and in their fathers and grandfathers. That doesn't cut any ice with him, and why should it? Although I do think he has to just take it on the chin and accept it does matter to them.
Yeah, it is funny, isn't it? Because, we done the majority of the show talking about Jürgen Klopp, and a lot of the talk about Jürgen is like, he gets us, he feels like one of us. But there is times where even Liverpool supporters and Jürgen have been sort of at odds a little bit, really, in terms of I remember even to his first season in the Europa League final against Bar, when he's turning around and trying to sort of, moan about
even his song this season.
Yeah, actually. Arguing about whether we're allowed to sort of sing the song. And I think so. There's been times where it's felt like he hasn't been quite sort of in step with us. But I think what Jürgen's been sort of quite good at is he has sort of let things go and sort of push things back. And you feel like that's what Ange needs to do, like just sort of go like, in his next press conference, like, look, I'm over that now. Do you know what I mean? It did me head in at the time. There was a fella behind me I was arguing with, which is a bit Jürgen as well. But, we had a difference of agreement over how do we approach that game, but hopefully it never happens again. And that's sort of how he needs to sort of move past it, I feel.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a strange setup at Spurs, and like I can't claim to be an expert on how they feel about that manager or anything along those lines, but I feel like from what I've seen of Ange over the course of the season, he's a fella that you can sort of get behind, and he's probably the sort of fella that you want leading your football club as well. I think especially if you are a club like Spurs, whether there's been so many sort of trophyless seasons, and now that Arsenal are having a bit of a resurgence, and Spurs haven't necessarily got up to that sort of level of resurgence from where they were in the Pochettino days. Yeah, I think you are looking at him as a manager and being like he's somebody that you can get behind. But I always feel like you're on a bit of a hide into nothing early on as a manager if you going out and completely slaughtering the fans. Like I think even in the very early days, Jürgen Klopp was never necessarily slaughtering the fans. Like I think probably the earliest one was when people left when Palace went 2-1 up at Anfield, and he mentioned it being the sort of the loneliest it felt. I think at that point he wasn't so much as slagging people off or picking anybody out the crowd as much as saying you all made me feel sad there, and can we try and do better than that in the future. I think once he got his feet under the table a little bit more and got a bit more settled, that was when he felt like he could start maybe calling individuals out a bit more and calling out the leaving early and things like that. So yeah, it's a bit of a strange one. I didn't watch the game. I fully believe that City would win it. I said the same when I was on 5 Live yesterday. I believe that like loads of games City have been involved in this season have been good games. I've not watched very many of them, to be honest. Because I like my mental health. So yeah, I didn't even watch the Champions League ones with Real Madrid, which I believe were really good games. I decided to watch the Arsenal ones instead because I feel like Arsenal are the more sort of fun team. So yeah, I'm not so much.
Do you want them to win the league, Arsenal? Still,
I don't know, to be honest. Like ultimately, I just don't care. Like I really don't care like who it is either way. I've watched City win the league loads. I still think that the 115 charges makes loads of them a bit whatever they are. And if Arsenal win it, like ultimately I'm not really going to care. I want Liverpool to win it, and if Liverpool aren't winning it, then I could care less who wins it, to be honest.
I think if I was just going back to the Ange point though, I think if I was a Tottenham fan, whilst I think you can be two things at once, you can go, I'm really glad we lost, so Arsenal are likely to be denied the league, but at the same time I'm glad our manager had that attitude. Do you know what I mean? I don't think if I was a Tottenham fan I'd hold that against him. I thought, of course, you can't expect your manager and your players to go, tell you what boys, the fans want us to throw it, let's be absolute shit. If you found out that was literally going on, which is what the fans say they want, you wouldn't be happy about it. You want your team to give the best account of themselves, but it to work out against your rivals. I think that's the bottom line. I'd be surprised if they hold it against him this rant.
No, I think they'll be able to sort of move past it. It does help. It's so close to the end of the season, but it will be an interesting one moving forward. It looks like City are going to win the league on Sunday, but they like a bit of a mad one on the last day, sort of, as we know, but they normally end up sort of prevailed, so fully expect that to happen again. But listen, Liverpool have got their own game on Sunday. We're sort of looking forward to that. Loads in the build up to that, of course, on the Anfield Wrap. So there'll be pre-match warm-up, there'll be team talk, there'll be loads of stuff building up. Obviously the Friday show looking at the Premier League as well, so great time to subscribe to the Anfield Wrap. We feel post-match reaction straight from the ground, audio and video as well. And right now, Rob, Adam Mealy in fact is here because we're going to go in there, we're going to record an episode of the award-winning Gutter Show looking ahead to what's most important about football, the busy transfer season coming ahead this summer.
Yep, the king is dead. He's not dead, he's leaving us. He's definitely not dead. I'm not breaking anything.
It's not at minute 30 of the interview is Rob sacrificing him.
Sorry, dead to be honest, on a slot. Well, hopefully he can make Jürgen a distant memory. Well, you know what I mean, don't you?
Yeah.
But we only look forward on the award-winning Transfer Gutter Show, and we are looking forward.
That's why you win the BAFTAs.
It's what we. No, that's the award, the BAFTA nominated overview.
Oh, sorry,
I've confused the two. So we're looking forward to a busy summer. I'm hoping there's not many outs, but there's a lot of rumours about outs, so we'll be talking a bit about that. But now the rumours are coming in thick and fast about exciting forwards, so we'll be doing that as well.
on the gutter. There is no rumour too big or indeed too small.
Too spurious.
Too spurious. The Rob will get his teeth stuck into. We're going to go and do that in that room over there now. Do enjoy the Jürgen Klopp interview, and do tell your friends as well. If you could share it in your WhatsApp groups, on your social media and stuff like that, so other Liverpool fans can see it. Do let people know that it's free. Because,
and take a picture with our billboard as well.
Yeah, do that. You can win Josh's pint glass. Up the Reds.